Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Committee of the Whole meeting. And call this to order. Adoption of the agenda for the February 14th, 2023 Committee of the Whole meeting. Councillor Schwenner, all in favor? Thank you. And the agenda for the February 14th Committee of the Whole meeting be adopted as presented. So moved. Councillor Taylor, all in favor? All right. Adoption of the previous minutes of the November 8th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting, going back a little ways.
Did we just do that?
Everybody,
We already did that. No, he did. You made a mistake and did the first one twice.
oh yeah, okay.
So this was
So yeah, so is there any are there any errors or omissions from those minutes? I don't hear any, so all in favor of this?
This point of order, Mr. Chair, nobody made that motion yet.
Okay,
I'll make it short.
okay. Councillor Bevan, thank you very much. And
No.
That way you keep track where you're at. So
thank you very much.
as soon as you complete it, check it, and then you get.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, that makes sense. Okay, so no delegations for tonight.
Point of order, you have to vote on that, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay, okay, all in favor? All right. No delegations for tonight, report from staff. And executive office, legislative services and human resources, infrastructure and planning, the advancement of the town's construction specifications and design guidelines. And this is presented by Andrew Phillips, our capital projects manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor, and members of council. Probably recall when I introduced myself to here in council back in January, one of my first assignments here at the town of Edson was to develop a town of Edson branded construction specifications and design guidelines. Some highlights from your briefing note that was forwarded to you last week. The town moved forward on February 3rd with awarding the development of both the construction specs and the design guidelines to a local consultant. Both the construction specs and design guidelines will play an intricate role for the town in creating consistencies, best practices, guiding documents, and for staff to adhere. And this will enhance the longevity of infrastructure such as transportation network and utilities, etc. The 2022 budget included $150 for the development of the construction specifications and design guidelines. Unless directed by council, administration has no plans for public contractor or developer engagement. Rationale for this approach is that there's no active land developers in the town, and we've selected a consultant that has extensive local experience and knowledge. However, the project plan does include multiple meetings with staff to review proposed specifications and guidelines in their subject areas to ensure a holistic review and input occurs. I guess with that, I would be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councilor Taylor.
Yeah, through the chair to administration, just wondering if we've ever had any sort of issues with construction, like that preceded this document that shoddy construction or just misunderstandings or anything like that, because of the sort of the data documents and the different documents we've had.
Answer through the chair to Councillor Taylor, sorry, apologies. With the limited amount of time that I've been here, so I haven't really seen our visible infrastructure, transportation network, without the snow and after the freeze thaw cycle's over. in my experience, I think best practices is there's always a set of guidelines and principles for a municipality to follow the guidelines and construction specifications. It's, I guess, my opinion probably up till now that what probably has occurred in the past are best practices, but depending on the consultants that are working here at the time, without having our approved own branded town of Edson specs and guidelines. But this will form consistencies. We'll use asphalt, for example. There'll be consistencies in the mix designs that we will be using moving forward, as opposed to, you know, potentially nine different mix designs for asphalt for the town of Edson.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
through to Councillor, just to supplement, yes, absolutely what Andrew was speaking to. There has been inconsistent practices when it comes to our design on some of our projects. So essentially this would apply a consistent approach to each and every development. And so it also helps developers understand what the rules of the game are and when developing in our community. So it is a best practice to have this set of design standards adopted within the community.
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, corporate services, nothing there. Community and protective services, animal control bylaw 2140 update presented by Tyler Robinson, our senior manager of protective services.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Now get the size of the arrows. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me once again. And here to talk about bylaws for the second week in a row, which is very exciting for me.
That's why you dress for the occasion. Well,
There you go, yes. So this one is the animal control bylaw we're going to talk about a little bit. And administration is conducting a review and modernization of the animal control bylaw number 2140 to address certain emergent and outstanding issues, as well as ensure alignment with best practices. In particular, the administration has identified a need to clarify the town's approach to urban hens, as well as establish a more standard, efficient animal permitting process. Last year, I believe in August, during a public input phase on the land use bylaw, a survey was issued to gauge public interest in permitting urban hens in the Edson, in the town of Edson, with mixed results. 104 respondents were in favor of it. That was about 35%. 123, or about 42%, indicated they were not so much in favor of it, and the remaining 23% responded that it really depended on the regulations put forward in that particular bylaw. And there it is. Thanks, Bob. I must have hit the 0 key. I thought I did that. So with that being said, there was a scale on a 10-point scale. The average support for backyard hens was 5. Note that in review of other municipalities, this provision is usually contained within the animal control bylaw and not the land use bylaw. So under section 7.2 of the current animal control bylaw number 2140, chickens are allowed for commercial purposes upon approval by council as per below. No person shall keep any chickens, goose, guinea fowl, or poultry of any kind within the limits of town unless council is of the opinion that the keeping of such birds or poultry is not likely to cause a nuisance, and such birds or poultry are a necessary part of commercial undertaking, and the keeping of such birds or poultry has been approved by special resolution of council. This bylaw was passed in 2014. Oh, sorry about that. This bylaw was passed in 2014 and has not been amended. At the time, urban hens were not a significant focus for municipalities. Subsequently, municipalities have explored various policy approaches to this issue. Council should also note that there is at least one property owner in town that has received council approval to keep hens on their property. And recently, a chicken permit renewal request was received for a large property located in the Grand Prairie Trail area. And in the past, council has also approved a school project to raise hens for a limited time period. As well as it is relatively uncommon for council to decide on many of the issues over which they currently have decision-making authority under the current animal control bylaw, except in smaller municipalities which may lack an animal permitting system. The town has a permitting process and system, and the animal control bylaw should be updated to reflect this. It would be standard for council to delegate animal permitting authority to the chief administrative officer, who would then sub-delegate as needed. And also to avoid repetition, administration recommends that any further public engagement undertaken in regards to the animal control bylaw be completed following the first reading of the draft bylaw, of a revised draft bylaw of the animal control. This would allow for public to give feedback once all proposed regulations are known, and reflects the fact that when polled on the question of urban hens, many respondents indicated that their support did depend on particulars of the regulatory approach taken, which was 23% again. So with all that being said, some questions for council. Does council wish to explore increased provisions around urban hens within the town of Edson as part of the animal control bylaw? And also, does council have other animal control issues? Click the button, Tyler. Does council have other animal control issues beyond urban hens that they wish to examine, such as dog or cat provisions? And does council object to modernizing the bylaw to provide decision-making authority to administration for all animal control related decisions similar to the dog licensing process? And with that is all I have, and I'm open to any questions you may have. Yes.
Mr. Burke?
So it's Valentine's Day, so we're gonna talk about chips, is that the idea?
That is correct.
I like your third choice when it comes to animal, if we leave it to administration, because we did experiment with hens 4 to 5, and I don't believe we're gonna be overrun and have hundreds of homes in town, but the one we presently, have we had any complaints for where we let the other chickens?
Sorry, through the chair to Councillor Pinard, I have not heard of any complaints from that place.
Okay, so I'd be in favor, I would leave it up to administration. I mean, we shouldn't be tasked every time someone wants some chickens in the yard, and I agree, hens, not roosters, but I see no problem with it. It's still under control, but it's not by the council.
Just a question, Mr. Robertson. A few years ago, didn't we have any, we had some chicken owners on 3rd Avenue, I think. At least I used to hear what I thought used to be a rooster around there at one time.
Through the chair to the chair. I'm not familiar with that.
Mr. Chair, you're dating yourself, because the Canadians haven't had hens down 3rd Avenue for.
I was around then, so I'm being myself.
Yeah, I was a kid.
But they did.
They did a whole chicken coop in the forest.
They did.
Yeah. Good to know.
You're just dating yourself.
The years passed.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor.
Yeah, through the chair, well, the council and administration, I do remember seeing this post and thinking to myself, oh, there's no way that people in town would be interested in chickens, and I clicked on the thing and I would have lost a lot of money based on the results that came in and the spirited debate that began happening with all the comments that came flying in. It's certainly not something that me personally was interested in, but if there are residents in town that seem to be passionate about owning hens or chickens in town, it would be something to explore, I guess. Certainly, and if administration is looking for sort of guidance from council in terms of where to take this, speaking with other people from other municipalities, there are other various ideas, and I'm sure you would look at what other municipalities are doing. I've heard of things like you need to get permission from your neighbors. Your neighbors would have to sign it. That creates maybe other issues that may come and play with that I've heard of that. I've heard of the size of the property that come into play. We have some pretty small properties, but then we have some bigger properties, just off our trail that, may be more conducive to that. Anybody who thinks that chickens can't be noisy, they can be very noisy, and they can also smell pretty bad. So if you're not taking care of it, right? So I'd be in favor of this, but I think we do need to have some pretty strict guidelines and enforcement is how it comes in, right? in terms of what we want to do that, so. Those are kind of my comments, and, want to hear what other members of council have to say in terms of direction, but it's just things to think about for sure.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Robinson for bringing this up. This is one that I've actually had quite a few people contact me about. Wanting to see urban hens in their neighborhoods. So it was interesting when the topic actually went out there to the public to see the wide ranging views. And I actually have a household here in the community where husband does not want urban chickens and the wife certainly does. So I said, either way, I'm losing a vote here. So I'm pretty indifferent to it. I think there's pros and cons. I see, if you're looking after your hens, it may not be an issue, just like if you're looking after your other pets. And I think that's why you need to have a strong regulatory piece in place to ensure that there is enforcement mechanisms. I guess my question to you, Mr. Robinson, is do we have the capacity to enforce something like this? And do we have the time and the capacity to research and develop some rules around the urban hens?
Through the chair to the mayor, up until Al retires, we have capacity to rewrite bylaws.
Okay.
I guess there's several places in town that have chickens, and we do have some farmland like Grand Prairie Trail area that was already alluded to. Going west out of Glenwood, we have a small handful of farms that are literally farms and not like backyard hens. Same with off Highway 748. So there certainly would be some research involved in perhaps the number of the property size, the location, maybe as Councillor Taylor alluded to, neighbor input. But those are certainly things that we would have to research without question. Right now, enforcement is difficult because we don't really have a bylaw pertaining to it. So I guess that's the answer to that. Right now, we can't enforce very strongly because we just don't have a bylaw related to that.
Okay, thank you. And I guess just a follow-up, I think my biggest concern, obviously, I think there needs to be engagement with neighbors, especially if you're in a residential neighborhood. The argument can be made if you want farm animals, and maybe you should be living on a farm, not in town. But I also understand that food's expensive, and this is a way for maybe some of our lower income families to help support themselves. I think one of the concerns would be in the wintertime, what happens when it's -40 outside? And what happens if we start having a whole bunch of chickens or hens running around like we have cats and dogs? But I think if we can do some research, bring back some of the regulatory pieces and maybe get some further engagement from our community before we make a decision, I think that would be an appropriate approach. Like I said, I'm pretty indifferent to it. But I know that there's a lot of people that are pretty passionate one way or the other. Just to your other question, regarding any other issues within the bylaw. I have one question and one comment under section 5 under offenses. Section 1 says no dog owner shall allow his or her dog to habitually bark or howl or otherwise cause a disturbance. Just a question on the enforcement piece, I guess, how do you define that? As a dog owner myself that has a dog that likes to bark, and I've had a few calls. I question what is the threshold? Because I think our bylaw gets a lot of calls on barking dogs. So I guess how would that be defined? And then my other comment would have to be under impounding section 6.4. I think we need to make some adjustments on when a dog or animal is not redeemed within 72 hours of this impounding, excepting purebred dogs, cats or animals which shall be kept for a period of 120 hours. The animal control officer, pound keeper may A, adopt such dog out, or B, make arrangements to destroy the dog, cat, or any animal and dispose of the carcass within a period of 72 hours. I think that needs to be extended. I think it's quite a short amount of time to be making that kind of decision, considering we have people that work out of town and that sort of thing. So I would like to see some modification there extend that out, for sure. Looking at adopting within 72 hours, I think is fine. But to destroy an animal within 72, which is allowed under the current wording of the bylaw, I don't think is necessarily a fair approach. So I don't know if you have any comments on any of that, but thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair to Mayor Zahara, I can address both of those. Right now, your first question based on how do you define what habitual barking is? Really, it's up to the complainant. Right now, we have a rule that basically says take 2 weeks as a person complaining about a dog owner that's habitually barking or howling. They have to take it upon themselves to document the times when it was barking, what day it was, and basically keep a log for 2 weeks before we can actually go and exercise any type of enforcement other than simple warnings that people are complaining.
Yeah.
Does that answer your first
Yes,
question?
it does. Thank you.
Wonderful. The second question for sure. We would definitely review other municipalities. I agree 72 hours to put down a critter is fairly short, being a critter lover myself. At the end of the day, it would still come down to best practices and comparable municipalities in that research.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Smart?
Just because we're nitpicking away would be section 3, number 7. Number D, why is it important if it's a purebred dog or not? Because it's saying color breed and then identified as purebred. I don't get what the difference is.
Through the chair to Councillor Chenard, I honestly can't answer that question. The bylaw was written again in 2014. I wasn't part of it. And my assumption is comparable municipalities were assessed at that time as well to come up with the bylaw. The reason why the purebred aspect is in there, I'm not in a position to answer that right now.
I was just curious, and then the other one is C. I get when they're asking the breed, because certain breeds are banned. So I guess would be acceptable that you would identify your dog as a mixed breed. But I mean, some of the breed, but I was just curious. I was going through that and seeing the purebred, why that was important.
Right. Through the chair. The second part of your question there, for one, yeah, a person can certainly have a purebred, but say it's a mixed breed. Lots of municipalities are getting away from the actual breed type and going to a dangerous dog status,
Okay.
Which is based on, dog attacks, nipping through the fence, attacking other people or animals. So several municipalities are going down that road instead of the purebred to boilerplate a dangerous dog because it's of its breed.
Right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Yeah, through the chair to Tyler. Just going on to the second question, and this is Mayor Zahara talked about dogs. I'm looking at cats now, because there are two types of people in this world: cat people and everybody else. But when I was certainly door knocking last year, there were a number of cat people that or non-cat people sort of complaining about urinating on lawns and flower beds. Does that constitute the damage to public property? Is that for private property? That's where it falls into that. And again, how is it the same process? You're documenting when the cat for 2 weeks? Is that what you're doing?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor. Yeah, unfortunately, the only way we can exercise enforcement is through documentation of the actual person that complains, whether it's pictures or a log or something like that. Other than that, it's a simple complaint that you notify the property owner that there was a complaint.
All right. And that is that standard practice in other municipalities as well?
It's through the chair. It is.
Yeah, myself, I have to agree with Councilor Taylor on some of the points that he brought up there, and I agree with the mayor as well. Also, I wondered how much this would attract more critters to town who would be predatory to chickens. And as well, lots of course, there's the avian flu thing, which which could or could not happen. And of course, feral cats, I think they probably have a field day too if people brought in chickens. Now, I don't know how many would actually, but those are my concerns.
Um. Those are valid concerns, obviously. So with the chicken, going back to the urban hens, they would absolutely be caged up. There's even more, like we have raccoons and skunks and stuff in town too that would. But it would be similar to the dangerous dog going after a cat or another smaller dog. It would be definitely up to the owner of those to keep them safe, and that would be part of their responsibility for simply just being a responsible pet owner.
So at least try to make it work.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna put Mr. Robinson on the spot here a little bit, kind of switching gears a little bit, but I think it's good information to have. I know that our pound as well as yours have been under a lot of pressure with a lot of animals coming in. Do we have any stats on how many dogs, how many cats last year, and what kind of difficulties we are having in terms of trying to control this? Because people seem to have gotten pets over COVID and now they're either batting them or letting them loose or dropping them off or having litters of cats. Is it a big challenge? And I don't know if you have any numbers available or if you can provide that to council.
Through the chair to Mayor Zahara, we do keep stats. You're 100% right. I do not have those stats in front of me. But that's definitely something that we can have forwarded to through Bob and up the chain to council.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Well, thank you, Mr. Robinson. It was a very interesting presentation, and this we'll probably be looking at this sometime in the future then. Thank you
very much.
Thank you. All right. Now we have the draft sidewalk, facility and trail snow and ice control policy, CS9, presented by Bob Beck, our General Manager of Community and Protective Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm presenting on behalf of Mr. Latour, who couldn't be here tonight. Mr. Latour and Daniel Lucas did 98% of the work on this project. So I give credit where credit was due, where it's good news and where it's bad news.
Good news that it's not.
So purpose of the presentation, we're going to run through the draft policy. We heard from council about what you would like to see in terms of the policy for the criteria priorities. We got priority 1, 2, 3, and 4, obviously, and then some discussion. So we've been drafted further council's discussions and development of the snow and ice control policy for sidewalks, facilities, and trails. So priority 1 are the town facilities, those ones that we're responsible for the snow clearing on. And so those are the buildings that we are responsible for. And those are reflected as priority 1 in the policy. So those ones are pretty straightforward. Priority 2 would be the town sidewalks adjacent to any town lands, parks, open spaces, any town lands like any other landowner. We've got a pile of those sidewalks throughout town. So those are all listed. They'll be listed in the policy, shown on the schedule, and classified as priority 2. And there's a bit of a map showing all the priorities. So the green dots are all the facilities. The red routes are all the sidewalks adjacent to town land. The purple or blue would be the trails. And the yellow would be the what we call highway adjacent sidewalks proposed in the policy. So those are all
What's with the pink?
the pink,
Councilors.
Mr. Chairman, through to Mayor Zahara, further in the presentation, the pink are sidewalks that our parks crew had recommended we stop doing under this policy, and I'm happy to address that further in the presentation. Right now, how about we do that? It appears from the accounts of the park staff, there was a period of time where they were not being done. And in the last few years, we've had some complaints, and they've been kind of asked to be put back into clearing, and our park staff would ask council to relook at this. They don't see the relevance of them because they don't lead to another, they're dead ends. And they, when they're looking at some of them, they understand that there's a handful of people that take these pathways very seriously, and it's their neighborhood. But when our park staff take all their priorities pretty seriously, and when they see these, they kind of go, why are we doing this? I should be clearing something else. And so they've recommended we raise this with council, that we maybe consider not. So.
Just on those pathways there, I believe in the past, there was also a safety concern for the machines going down there at one time, and unless they've been upgraded to really put something down there that is safe. Previous years, I know there was a couple of machines that were rolled or whatever and stuff like that. I think that was one of the big reasons that they didn't want to go down there for safety reasons. And I did walk through there, and I understood what they were talking about. And I don't see why, unless they're going to be put to a standard where our machines can get down there safely for our workers and everything else. I don't see any use for it either.
Conversation.
Through the chair to Bob. Bob, those, that's going up to the top end of Creekside, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, isn't there like a trail, or is that not in that green space, that's not a regular trail, but you could walk there in the summertime, or is that a regular clean trail?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through the council, it's not a maintained trail. There's absolutely a trail. And in parts of it, there's a bit of some gravel been put down, so it's a very rustic trail.
So it's not recognized as a trail.
We don't maintain that trail, Mr. Chairman. So not like the other hard surface trails that we really maintain. We do not provide snow clearing.
Well, then I'd have to agree. If they go nowhere, what's the point?
There's a.
As somebody who lives, I can see my property on this map, that area behind there is widely used in the winter time. I don't understand how there could be danger with equipment. It's paved sidewalk on those areas. It's no different than any other area. Residents don't get to choose which sidewalks they can clear and not clear, so I don't know why we would be able to do the same. I do understand it's not connecting to a paved area, but there's cement sidewalks there. Whenever that neighborhood was built, it was required. It's our responsibility. And so for us not to adhere to our responsibilities, I think, I question that. Our staff have the equipment to do the work, and if they need something else to do the work, then that's fine. Or we should just remove those sidewalks. But it was required at some point, and I know that trail back there is used widely all year round, especially in the winter time as kids are walking to school in the winter time behind there every morning. So that's just my thought.
Anyone else? Councilor Schmer.
Just to follow up, I didn't realize I don't live in that neighborhood, so. If people are using it and they go to clean it, would it be unreasonable during the winter conditions if we plowed a trail on the frozen dirt? Like if you're going up there anyway, and I don't know where, like they probably come out this way back to 63rd, or do you walk through any of the schools?
So they'll walk down there and all the way to Vanier.
Oh, okay.
So it goes over to 55th Street. So I can't speak to the one on the west, but I know the other one's just to the east there. I know that one's used quite a bit. So
Where's your place in White?
just on the other side of that red line.
So that's where I see that chicken stand.
No.
Council position.
Mr. Chair, through Mr. Beck, what makes it dangerous for the equipment?
It's my understanding there's a bit of a sharp drop off on one or two of the sidewalks. And so it's, in their opinion, they feel it's unsafe, so the immediate solution was use a different method. Get close to it, then use a shovel for the last number of feet. We can address safety. Or we can mitigate if we have to do a bit of construction in the summer to raise up the grade around it. So it's, we haven't done that because we knew that this discussion was going to occur. Anyone else? Okay, I'll move on, Mr. Chairman. So the primary service level change and vision of the policy is the addition of highway adjacent sidewalks to the parks portfolio. Of course, council knows that historically staff had been doing other highway adjacent sidewalks, and council asked us to look at adding the remainder. There are unique maintenance challenges for adjacent landowners. That's really the snow clearing adjacent to a provincial highway. It does make these sidewalks somewhat unique, and you just don't see that level of sidewalk development through an urban municipality along Highway 16, anywhere along Highway 16. We're rather unique that way. And so with the contractor plowing snow up onto it, it causes landowners some problems. So that's why the town has been involved in this in the past, and that's why council was asked to look at adding more. Adding the service would promote standardization as current practices are inconsistent. We clear some of the adjacent sidewalks, but not others, and that's what council asked us to add in the remainder. So this policy doesn't address that. The yellow is the on that map shows the highway adjacent sidewalks that we currently do. And the blue, the blue would be the adjacent ones that we have not been doing that would be added. So these pictures just show some of the issues and some of the problems that our crew has expressed with us, just saying, they understand they'll take care of, implement whatever council wants, but there are some issues with doing it. Some of the sections are really narrow, they're really broken up. Most of our equipment is designed for quick trail clearing, and they're really fast at doing it. But they're set up for 48 to 60 inches. That's why they get their trails done so fast. So the next slide shows some of the other issues as you get closer to Main Street. There's just some tight spots, and we just, we'd have to go about it entirely different with some different methods. And really, staff have been really good about maintaining a level of service, basically all with equipment, and it gets the job done really well. This would, we'd be doing a bit more hand clearing in a lot of locations. So implications, we don't really have equipment narrow enough. They did price out a special piece of equipment. It was really expensive, but that's what the expensive is costing these days. We just tendered out for a new trackless clear, and the price is going up. It's just really expensive. So one thing that we thought about was maybe just contracting out all of the sidewalks and see if we could get someone in town that was interested in doing that. We're not sure. Maybe not. But maybe if we could entice someone to take on the sidewalks, we wouldn't be faced with buying any special equipment, and we would have resources to spend on other initiatives and other snow clearing. So one thing to consider, council wants to pursue this. So under the current community standards bylaw, all adjacent landowners are required to clear their sidewalks. So if the town were to assume the responsibility, this would create an ambiguity. in the regulatory framework. So it wouldn't jive with the community standards bylaws. We would have to change it. So we looked at it with legal counsel. What we arrived at was probably adopting a policy saying that we have chosen to clear all the highway adjacent sidewalks and amend the community standards bylaw so that that doesn't apply to those landowners along where the council has said we will be doing this, the sidewalks adjacent to the highway. Now, the lawyer, I should point out, has still advised us, don't put on any sidewalks you don't have to, but the lawyer always has to advise us of the liability, so they have made it clear that they would recommend against this. So as you've generally indicated support for assuming a responsibility, we have included a draft amending bylaw for committee's review. And the bylaw would simply follow or allow council to designate and regulate maintenance on highway adjacent sidewalks. And basically what I just said, previous slide, clarify those adjacent landowners would not be required. It would be our responsibility. And then the last priority for is the trails. And policy would say 96 hours from snowfall, and generally we've been meeting that in the past easily.
Thank you. Councilor Sherman.
Through Bob. Going back to the two one-ways, if we determine who actually owns the sidewalks. Because the highway we know is owned by the province, but who actually owns the sidewalks?
Generally, right away.
So they would be owned by the province, same as the highway, or does town own the sidewalks or property owners? I'm just curious who owns the sidewalk, we know.
To the chair, Councilor Chard. It's a mix mash. It's some of them are on private property, some are on the highway right of way. It's a mix mash. They kind of weave in and out of properties.
And we're going to carry on with that. Reason I'm saying that when we say the trails, 96 hours, if that would give us extra time to maybe call those two and put them under our trail system. Because like you say, in 48 hours to clear a sidewalk, but because those two one ways, because of the special equipment, we'd be able to allow ourselves time and call them a trail system, and then give us 96 hours to clean. Like what we're doing on the next line, instead of 48 hours to clean sidewalks on the two one ways.
Mr. Chairman, just through Councilor Schwannard. Are you still not sure of your question?
Well, what I'm suggesting is, like we said, we tell business owners your sidewalks must be cleaned within 48 hours. And we're saying, but if we're taking ownership or responsibility to allow us leeway, and it's two one ways, call them instead their sidewalks were part of our trail system. But then when we go to do trails, we say we clean within 96 hours. So because we're taking this as a special case, and then if we can amend it that way, it's 96 hours to clean, because the problem we have, we well know, you will clean them, half an hour later, snow plow comes down and buries them. So it's just a suggestion if we can do that and call it a trail system.
Mr. Chairman, so that's the suggestion is to basically remove the highway adjacent sidewalks down a priority 4 as well. Reorder the priorities, make them at the same level as the trail.
As a trail and call them a trail system.
Councilor Bell.
To the chair, do we keep how much time and cost to do these sidewalks in the wintertime?
Mr. Chairman, we did a bit of an estimate, and unfortunately, I just didn't have the staff to discuss it with too much last week, but it was based on what they've told me the average per month, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, and so we based an estimate on what it might take to contract out on the hours they told us.
Yeah, that's what my next question, we get a contract. I know 10, 15 years ago, it used to be contracted out a lot of the places in that. And they would either bill the owner or the town got them due, went back on their bill, and they had to pay at the end of the month, the year of the taxes or whatever it was. It seemed to work fairly good. that way. And then we kind of got away from it. Now and I look at when the sidewalks get cleared. It depends on what the snowfall we get. They can run up and down there 4 or 5 times a whole week. And then throw them right back on, and we can never catch up, and they could never catch up. And then it gets to be a 3-foot pile on there, and then it's tough to get that stuff off there. So, you feel for me. And I did see the other day, we had the big snowfall. They actually were going slow down the one ways and not throwing it all up on the sidewalk. So I remember we had that discussion before, and one of them did slow down and actually didn't put a lot on there. But the other guy didn't, and up by Castle Rentals, knocked one of the pedestals right off its moorings. It's bent right over and sitting in the thing, all busted up. So. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring back, council, when we brought this forward to you, and I don't actually recall exactly when it was. The original question was that we identified that there were sidewalks being done by our staff at that point in time. And the original ask was, should we continue that practice or should we, move to a different model? Council at that time, you had articulated that the suggestion was to include more sidewalks. So just speaking to Councillor Chenard's question with regards to changing the requirements to 96 hours would in fact actually further lessen the service that is already at this point in time. So if that's council's desire, I guess I was misunderstood then completely, because I understood it was to increase the level of service and also the walkability of the community from what I understood from council at that time. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear with what council would like to see on this. From an operational standpoint, there's obviously complexities and why there's a suggestion at this time for contracted service, given the nature of these sidewalks, as well as we are a very unique community when it comes to this, and I'm working with a contractor that in some cases, and I mean Ledcor in that way, in some cases, it's not only, even if they slow down, it's still the fact that our sidewalks actually, there's no boulevard, there's nothing in between the road and the sidewalk. So there's just added barriers that we're faced with this situation.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Chenard's point, I would not want to see it move down to priority 4. We are trying to, and CO Beverage spoke to that. We want to provide a higher level of service. We knock it down to 96 hours. Yeah, it may alleviate the problem of the snow coming up on the sidewalk from the snow plows and the road, but we're just lessening the service, right? And so I would be, though, going back to our sidewalks to nowhere discussion, would be in favor of moving those to priority 4, because it seems to be connecting to a trail system. And we could consider them as trail, if that is right.
Taylor, they are priority 4.
They are priority. I thought they are priority
No,
2. Sorry, my apologies.
Yeah.
Sorry, they are a priority. My apologies.
Okay. Mayor's around.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to having contracted services for this. I think that we underutilize contractors. And I do know that we have limited staff in the winter time in our parks department, and there's many things they could be doing. And one of the, as we talked about previously, one of the positives that we have in our community is the great work they do on the trail systems. And I think the biggest complaint, as was articulated, is that it is very hard to maintain those sidewalks. I've heard from many business owners that are very frustrated. They clear it and they go and put the shovel away and look outside, and it's all covered up with the plow. I have talked to the regional manager for Ledcor and talked about this issue. So I'm happy to hear that they were slowing down, but that's not going to alleviate our entire issue. So those properties along the highway, those commercial properties pay a lot of tax and don't get a lot of service. And we want to make our community more walkable. And I think this is something that is necessary that we do in order to have consistency without the community, because the way it has been operating, I don't think has been fair to the community as a whole, where some businesses have their streets cleared, their sidewalks cleared, and Others do not, and there's various reasons for that. And I think those pictures you show just show how disjointed our sidewalk network is. You bring up the point in West Haven, we have sidewalks that go to an unpaved trail. Like, what was the thinking behind that? We have other areas of town, when there's a bigger discussion, where you have one sidewalk for a block, no sidewalk for 2 blocks, and then another sidewalk. Just poor planning and something that we need to tackle. But in this particular case, I do like what you guys have come up with here. I put a lot of thought. My question to you, Mr. Beck, and maybe there's legal reasons for this. Is there a reason why we're listing of the equipment that we're using? Because that equipment can change on a year-to-year basis.
Yeah, we specifically raised that with legal and, you know, I'm gonna let Mr. Lucas give that answer if he doesn't mind. Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Thank you through the chair to Mayor Zahara. Yeah, the response from legal generally reflected the view that in listing the equipment that we would be using, this further limits our liability when using that equipment to fulfill the mandate of the policy. They did also acknowledge, as you noted, Mr. Mayor, that this equipment would change over time. Fortunately, the policy does have an additional disclaimer that there would be other equipment as needed that would be used in that pursuant to the policy. So again, it was generally the view was reliability mitigating measures.
Thank you.
And just to follow up to Mr. Beck, so if we did do a contracted service for these sidewalks on one-ways, obviously that's going to free up a lot of staff time. So would there be a need to hire additional seasonal staff for rigs and that sort of thing? Or, you know, are we just basically shifting, could be potentially shifting dollars from rigs to sidewalks?
Mr. Chairman, through Mayor Zahara, exactly. If we did that, we'd have to look at the entire department. And we're not even, we haven't really dug deep into the contracting thing. This came up relatively recently. So we'd really like to go back and look at it and then even contact a few of the local contractors and see if this was put out there, would they even be bidding on it? Some of them might tell us, no, you don't know until you tender it. And if it was for a 3-year contract, maybe it causes someone to get in the business. We don't know. And that's great. That increases capacity in our community for other, you know, other people might need them for some hearing. Because we do understand that insurance is for some of the people out of the slip clearing business in the past few years. So maybe we don't know how successful we would be. It was our first thought was maybe contracting is the answer. So we might just be back to you with more equipment or something after we examine it a bit further. But you're absolutely right. If we could, if we got this off our plate, would it free up resources, or do we even need that temporary seasonal person? That's a good question. It's a fair question.
Anyone else?
You're talking
Through the chair to council and just throwing this up. So no matter what, whether we contract the service, we do it in-house, there's an additional cost. There's going to be additional cost. And some of this is, yes, it's our responsibility, and some of it is the province's responsibility in terms of when the snow comes shoveling up onto the sidewalk and it gets dumped to us again. And this is another issue of something being dumped down to the municipality of you pay for it. So I would not be opposed to us sending MLA Martin Long saying, why don't you help foot the bill for this? Because, or else we're just footing just this another bill from the province regarding something that you know, if they slow down, if they take it easy, then we don't have so many issues. But if they get guys in a rush, then I would hate to see our staff or a contracted service do it, and they'd have to go back out there the next day and do it again. Yeah, I pretty much I know what the answer will be from the province, but still it puts it on the record to say like we're trying to, you know, this is just another cost that's kind of being cut down to us. So. And it's been said before, we are in a very unique scenario. There's no other municipality that has businesses literally like on top of a provincial highway.
Councilor Bevin.
Through the chair. Just going on Councilor Taylor's thing here. We clear the highways of all the snow, what, once or twice a year? And we charge them for that, I do believe. So we could. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, through to Councilor Brown, I believe it's a dust control that we actually contract, we have that contract with them, that we do it once or twice. Mr. Sullivan can himself.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, we have a contract twice a year. We remove the windrows. But they have not been significant enough to move them this year so far. So they pay us, I believe, twice a year to do it.
Okay, well, I was just thinking like, if they pay us for it. If we knew what it cost us for time and labor and everything else to do them ourselves. Can we add that onto a bill, just say this costs us X $100,000, we're gonna charge you for it? I don't know, it's one way of getting them to maybe pay us and help us out.
I think it's worthy to have that discussion with Alberta Transportation, say, hey, look, we have a challenge here.
Agree.
Recognize we're in a unique situation, and just like with dust control issues. Working together, we either can find a compromise, or paying us more for dust control now, so. Maybe we can have that discussion, because this is not going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but. Every little bit counts, and that helps everybody out, and I think that. If this is a priority for us, we should be coming up to the table. It's partly their cause as well, so they should be picking up some of the tab too.
Councilor Schnurr.
Just great information. I will be having that discussion with Alberta Transportation next week. As the Trans Canada rep for Alberta, that conversation, so I'm glad in the feedback. Next week, I will be having a conversation with them to open up the doors, see what the possibilities.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Beck.
Did you get everything you need?
I think so.
Clear as snow.
Okay, no information items, no sundry. Questions from the media and public regarding items from this committee of the whole meeting? Anyone?
Chairman, we have no one.
No one on the line?
Do you have any questions, please?
Not really. Okay. And we have a closed meeting session. No, yes, no.
German.
Okay. All in favor?
I'm going against it. All in favor? Yes.
Yeah, we'll keep around. All in favor, yes. Thank you.